I'd like to call the meeting to order. We all stand for the pleasure of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Roll call, please, Kathy.
Mrs. Alberts?
Yep, I'm here. Mrs. Molinaro.
Mrs. Cooper?
Here.
Mr. Ferguson?
Here.
Ann Rose Wesky-Latt?
Oh, here.
Mr. Hawley?
Here.
Mr. Janelli?
Here.
Mr. Matrini?
Here.
Mr. Petrofesso?
Present.
Mr. Taversack?
Here.
And Mrs. Franzillo? Here.
Seeing that we're all here, isn't that nice? Thank you. Okay, public participation. The board vote. Is there anyone here that would like to speak? No? That's true. Sorry, you asked for it. Sorry, you opened the door, I walk in, I'm sorry. Okay. So there's nobody here, honey. Who's gonna talk?
I'm Italian, and I don't vote.
All right, everybody has spoken.
Thank you.
All righty, moving on to the consent calendar. Kathy, your motion.
That the Board of Education approve the items on the consent calendar exhibits 14-171 through 14-174 as recommended.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Are there any questions?
I do.
Of course. Yes, Mr. Janelle. Go ahead.
The donation part, last week, at the last meeting, Ann Rose mentioned something in terms of recognizing the $10,000 that was given to no ratings, no donations. Do we send letters, when I go to the council meeting, they say that there'll be a letter sent, thanking them. Is there a general letter sent from the Board of Ed?
Only when, the answer is yes, except when they say, I don't want, they don't tell us who the donors are.
No.
So the answer is yes, unless we're told not to.
Okay.
And just, thank you.
I mean, it's a healthy sum for these summer books we got.
Well, it is from, and that was, what was it? I don't know what is the first book, National Book Bank? Ann.
It's an intermediate between publishers and nonprofit organizations.
Oh, cool.
And so they have 5 locations throughout the United States. Danbury, our school system, and the Family Learning Center is a recipient, and we brought in about 313, plus there's another 82 boxes arriving next week of books that have been distributed out with our literacy caravan, out to families at events, to schools, to the extended learning programs, to our STEM programs, and different programs like that. So, and all we may end up doing is paying the shipping and handling, and they're all branded books.
Wow.
And in case I haven't said it, because I walk around here thanking everybody and telling people what a great job they're doing, and talking into the microphone. And thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
You really made this quite a program or helped to facilitate it. Thank you very, very much. Okay, but now back to reality. Mr. Martino, would you explain, since we're all about full disclosure in this consent calendar now, if you would please explain what the donations and the purchase of a van for each, where is it? Did you buy a new van? Was this an old van? I mean, I know the story, but not everybody does. So could you tell it to everybody?
Yeah, there was a van that was, in a sense, used for the Reach and Endeavor program. Mrs. DiNardo actually assisted in driving the van. And the van did come up for sale, and through some donations, one being the Savings Bank of Danbury, there's actually enough pooled cash if you purchase the van, so it'll become, in a sense, a Board of Education vehicle put on our insurance.
Thank you. Did everybody understand that? Because that's a really cool thing.
Yeah, it is.
And they're still raising money for it.
Correct. I believe it's $3,000. The van has at least a $6,000 or $7,000 value, so that's actually really well.
So that's good.
It's a good vehicle, that's fine.
Okay, did we vote, because I'm not sure we did, because I'm so busy talking into the microphone. Did we vote on whether or not to accept the consent calendar as read? We did vote?
No, we
No, we
did
did
not.
not.
Okay, can we vote? There you go, thank you very much. I don't lose this. I need a motion, we have the motion.
We have a motion.
We have the motion, it was seconded by
seconded.
Mr. Hawley and
Correct.
Mr. Taversack, and all in favor?
Aye.
Thank God, there we are, that's done. Moving on, employee representation. Is there anybody here? No, okay, moving on. Student representatives, I see no one from Danbury High. However, I do see Mr. John King from ACE, is that correct? Would you come on up to the table? Oh, it's there to that place, right? Is that what we just set up for?
Yes,
No?
please.
Could somebody at that end of the table help him? Just go over and sit, pull a chair up over. And Dr. Class will give you a mic. He's busy writing his dissertation.
I'm John King. I'm representing ACE. On Wednesday, September 17th, approximately 20 students from John Weber and Kyle Tricola's guidance groups went to Broadview Middle School and presented to 66th graders regarding International Peace Day. ACE students led discussion and activities with Broadview Middle School students for the afternoon to promote Peace Day, which was celebrated internationally on September 20th. This is the 12th year in a row that ACE has participated in events surrounding International Peace Day. On Monday, September 22nd, ACE students participated in our annual team building day at Swans Pond. The trust and team building activities were a huge success, and students and teachers bonded in positive ways to help building a positive school climate at ACE. ACE hosted its parent open house on Monday night, where many parents attended. Teachers, students, and support staff members all attended to welcome parents to a new school year. Senior seminar class will be offered again this year by Principal Sandy Tonasoff and School Counselor Diana DiNardo. During our weekly sessions, students will explore a career of interests and conduct college searches and visit a variety of post-secondary schools. We look forward to another year of success with seniors. And finally, students at ACE are using our new Chromebooks in numerous ways and are all very engaged in the creative lessons that are being implemented by teachers. Many teachers are using online platforms such as Schoology, Google Classroom, and Moodle. Students are enjoying the use of the new technology and already are reaping the academic benefits from using the new Chromebooks. And that's pretty much all.
That's very well done. Thank you, John. It's nice meeting you. Are you going to be a representative now for a while?
Yes, and Sean LaVoy, who's not
Okay.
here due
That's
to
okay.
work-related issues.
You both don't have to come, and I don't know if anybody really heads up. You really don't need to stay much after you speak. Thank you very much for that. Moving along. We have no action items, so Dr. Pascarella, could you please do the transportation update?
Yes.
No love notes in the middle of the meeting.
You know, we did have some parents at the last meeting, when we talked about transportation. We told you we'd update and told you the
Give them the
records.
mic. Speak
Joe's
into the
been working
microphone.
with the transportation company, you know, maybe we can do that.
We actually just had a meeting today with managers and some of the regional directors of STA related to our busing. As the board knows, we did budget 4 additional buses for the West Side Academy in the operating budget. And due to some of the locations and some of the areas we have to go into with West Side, we are seeing some impacts on runs. So we are adding 3 additional buses into the busing tier, particularly to deal with West Side. We do have some runs in West Side that are over an hour right now. We're trying to operationalize, in a sense, through the budget process on how to working with STA to get the buses in place. We did, after today's meeting, in a sense, okay the release for 3 additional buses. They are going to be phased in starting, I believe, Wednesday and Friday of this week to, in a sense, alleviate, particularly the West Side runs that are running out over an hour on some of those runs. We also did address the Abbey Woods issue. We are now just setting up some times on those runs. As the board knows, there's some private roads that will eventually become city roads. We are now setting up a few stops inside that development to deal with. There's approximately 50 students inside that development. There's 2 parts, really. It's off Old Ridgebury. The Toll Brothers development and also Abbey Woods, I believe, are separate. One is, I believe, rental units, and the other is actually 3 and 4 bedroom homes, condos. And also we are continuing monitoring all the roads we have. I mean, times are getting better, things are getting better as far as timing and issues with the drivers, so that's been good.
What we discovered, it wasn't so much that all of us miscalculated, all of us, I mean, when we put the budget together, we kind of anticipated. What we found out is this, because of the magnet school program that we have, because of the satellite bilingual school, bilingual program, because of those special ed satellite programs means we get them from around the district. When the runs were set up some years ago, they were in, and that's why we have the stagnant starts. You know, like the buses were making 4 runs on one bus. Well, because they have to go around the city, they can't make 4 runs. So you're losing 50% of what they used to pick up. And that's why we're making up for this. I mean, it's one of those things, the light goes on, and there it was. They can't make these multiple runs anymore. And that was part of economizing some years back, whoever came up with the system of, if we went back to neighborhood schools, we can get back to that. If we stop the satellite stuff, because then you know it's very defined where the buses are going to go.
Also,
so that's what we're running into.
Our ridership is up too as a whole. We do have far more kids riding this year than we did other years as well.
Sorry, question.
That's true.
Okay.
So, Joe, how far in advance do you find out, like, you know, first day of school, oh, we got 15 more kids in Abbey Woods, or, oh, we had the middle school, we found, like, when do you find out actually, you know, it's not the day of school, obviously.
No, and for example,
Oh, it shouldn't be.
we've had some runs we've looked at that were nice, clean, 25, 30-minute runs, and we picked up, 10 new enrollments in some of those runs, and it became a 45-minute, 50-minute run with some tough stops. So, I mean, it's hard to predict. The magnet school was challenging because obviously the lottery gets put in place, and those kids went up scattered. The original STEM program had, in a sense, 4 STEM buses that came from Rogers Park. So that was kind of where, in a sense, the additional 4 buses came from. We looked at the budget, and we met with Marge early on, because we figured, okay, we've got 4 that are pulling, in a sense, Broadway into Rogers, so we thought, okay, we probably got 4 going back to the west, so we'll have 8 for the new west side. In reality, we needed 11, which is a similar model to what AIS has now at the magnet school. We have 11 buses that service the magnet because it, in a sense, drains from the whole city, as I like to call it. We have had issues. I mean, we had originally placed 3 buses into service. I held the 4th bus back from SDA again to try to deal with, just to sort things out and see how runs would go. We deployed the 4th, and then really once, like I said, pretty right after the last board meeting, we really did come to the realization we are looking at 3 additional. So it's hard to say because we keep adjusting runs, we keep tweaking. They'll try to shuffle, 4 kids from one run to another run. We've got some runs just flat out overcrowded. Great Plain has a run now that has like a bus 57A and 57B because we split that run right now to kind of piggyback it until we can get the rest of the buses online.
Okay.
And Rose.
I was just curious about the Abbey Woods. I know you had said that these roads will eventually be city roads. Do we know when they will become city roads?
We don't. What our concern is, the roads are built what is known to city spec. Free Curran, the city's engineer's office, they actually have specific guidelines for drainage and pitch and weight load. So our concern was that they were built to the city specs and will eventually be accepted as city roads once the construction is done. The city, in a sense, doesn't want a road turned over to them that is, with major vehicles and construction vehicles going over them. So in theory, once the major construction there is done, the city will then accept that as a city road. We could be years away.
Okay, then I have another question.
Yeah.
If you're years away, legally, I thought about this in the middle of the night. If you're years away from accepting that as a city road and those roads need to be plowed during the winter, who's responsible for that? And then what happens if, God forbid, there is an accident or something happens on that private road because it wasn't plowed properly, and it involves our bus and a child? Like, who's legally responsible for all of this?
Okay, excuse me. Kathy can answer that, so let her answer.
I can answer that because my husband
Okay.
uses the, He used to be, assistant superintendent of public buildings. And all roads have to be kept clean for emergencies, so they are plowed regardless.
Well, if you're in a private complex,
Okay,
then
but-
the complex it pays for it.
Right.
We've also been in contact with both there's the name's escaping now, he's the former public works director for the city. Yeah, Bill Buckley, we actually spoke to him, is responsible for a lot of the maintenance up there as well. We've also spoken to the contractors that plow that area. The city is actually very comfortable with what's going on right up there now. The question is, it's the bus company's insurance. I mean, in other words, irrespective really if it was on a private or a public road, it still is a issue that would impact the bus company's insurance.
The school code speaks to it and allows the board flexibility to either to make those runs or not. If you choose to make the runs, there's criteria that we all went through. That's what we had to go through. And part of it was making sure that in fact they would be passable during inclement weather, school delays. That was part of the approval process.
Yeah, and the guiding principle is that it's a city spec road. And there's some roads that are regular private roads that are very narrow. You can never get a bus down no matter what. And it'll never be accepted by the city. There is roads that develop that will not be accepted by the city and will not travel those roads for those reasons.
Alrighty, Richard Holman.
Joe, the financial impact and where were you able to transfer the funds from?
Right now, we're evaluating the current runs that we have. As the board knows, there was some what were all-day K runs that we removed from the budget there. There's still some savings there that we will utilize. I'm working with STA in a sense to delay some payments for the board. We are looking at possibly a 2 to 3 month deferral. So in other words, they will give us those 3 buses for free for 2 to 3 months. That will lessen the impact in this budget cycle. We're continuing evaluating some of our open staffing positions that we have as well. Right now, we're looking at about $125,000 impact.
So the real answer is we don't know yet. I mean, in essence, Joe's been working the bus company to defray the cost, but at some point, we need to identify where those funds will come.
We'll be doing some transfers around those. We do think there was summer school programs. There is also some additional costs there. Some less students that went through those programs. So it's a challenge.
Yeah.
I have Kathy Molina.
And so building our budget for next year, because, one of the schools is not to capacity, we will have to add more buses.
Yeah, we will more than likely program, and obviously the 3 buses that will be rolling when that budget's on, and we will program at least 1 additional bus for the following school year, because there'll be 100 additional kids coming on. But because of the feeder patterns that exist now, I think there's capacity on those runs, so in a sense those kids will go on.
The existing 3.
Yeah, because you've got another 100 students that will go into West Side. So we'll budget 4 buses for the next budget, obviously to pick up the 3 we currently have plus an addition. You must have heard we work on budget, right?
Are there any other questions for Joe? Seeing none, move along, please. The coherence.
Just to let the board know, the coherence plan that we approved last year is alive and kicking. The teachers are selecting their objectives and their goals aligning with the board goals, which align with the goals that I put into the packet, which align with Dr. Glass's goals and the Kevin. So there is a unity of purpose in the area of student achievement. I think it's still taking, I don't think people really understand, this is how it's going to happen. And it's like, oh, we're really going to do that? Yes, we're really doing it. And this is how we're doing it. And I think that the work that Jonathan did with us and is continuing to do it with us is helpful. We'll be able to demonstrate the alignment. The real challenge is in the assessment piece, as I put in here, because this is new, trying to find valid rubrics to look at these, the area of, that we're focusing on is a challenge. So this year we'll be field testing some of that. But, I'm really happy that we're able to do that. And I think that it's gonna create the kind of climate that we want. So I'll keep you updated, but that is on the move and happening as I speak.
Excellent, thank you. We're going to move right into, any questions for Dr. Sal on that? No, seeing none, okay, moving right into the discussion on the middle school furnitures.
We placed this on here because last year, as we sat at the community meetings, we talked about the new West Side Middle School, and there were parents from every level who felt as though if they didn't get into the magnet school, the program they chose, then their kids were going to get less of what they're interested in, and other kids will get more than what their kids are getting. And part of that is a reality. I mean, we all know that. But what the problems that we all had was that we were going to study and look at ways to increase parent choice at the current buildings. So and also look at the transition time between middle and high school, all wrapped into one. And we're beginning now to look at options that I will begin putting before you, probably sometime it won't coincide with the budget season. It just even though it's not the kind of thing that kind of happens very quickly. There's visits involved. There's also dialogue that has to happen. People need to take the perspective how curriculum is going to be implemented, and then we'll start looking at some staffing levels. But anyway, sometime before the 1st of January, we'll start having some ideas, and I'll be doing some reporting to you. But the focus here is to increase parent choice at the 2 middle schools that students would be attending by their natural attendance zones.
May I ask a question, sir? Because perhaps it's just me that's muddled, and that happens often, so I understand, but could you explain what you mean by parent choice? I mean,
right now, you
there's a middle school
reside on 455 Elm Street. You're going to go to Rogers Park.
Okay, and what's
You don't have a
changing?
choice. But when you go to Rogers Park,
Right.
we're hoping to create choice. And it could be 2 academies. We talked about academies that would align with the hospital. We talked about academies that may be in the performing arts. We talked about the possibility of academy in environmental studies, that kind of thing. So that when you go to that school, if you have an interest in those studies, that if you didn't get into this magnet school, here's an option for a family to consider while they're attending their residential catchment area school, within the school.
Right, but now, I was wrong in my assumption when I read that we were going to have acting, that academy, whatever. Performing arts, thank you. My brain has stopped. So I'm speaking into the mic, though I can feel her looking at me. Could you,
Well,
I
Bill
thought that they were going
Bill
to be
did a
there and that would
survey.
be part of, no?
Bill did a survey to parents, and we're focusing around those. Maybe you want to speak to that a little bit? That's where we got the
Thank you, because I'm
interest.
confused.
That doesn't mean that's what we approved, but that's where the interest came.
It is confusing because we're trying to capture the collective thinking of the community and trying to serve kids as deeply as we possibly can in the best environment. There are certain naturally occurring resources out there. When you look at Rogers Park, they have Old Quarry Nature Preserve, they have Terry Wild, they have the pond, and they now have the organic garden. And we're really proud that we just put in a bog this year, which is unique, and the kids are really excited about it. And if you've had the opportunity to go and visit their special day that celebrates this, the kids harvest all the vegetables, they cook for you, they give you a tour. We want to really capitalize on that. The garden will be for the entire school, but there may be a population of youngsters, based on our survey there is, that are interested, and their parents are interested in doing an environmental science approach, as opposed to the traditional comprehensive middle school. And there are parents who have said, we definitely want to have our kids involved in a comprehensive middle school, and we're not necessarily interested in a theme academy. At Dameron Hospital, and you may have gotten wind of kind of a conflicting report coming out. There was an interest thought at one point in time that Danbury Hospital was not interested in partnering with us. I think it was in part driven by the Western Connecticut Health Network consolidation. In reality, a very high-ranking official in the hospital said, no, we definitely want to have an ongoing conversation with you. And so a team just went over there to talk about the Health and Wellness Academy or Health and Bioscience Academy at the middle school level, similar to what we have at the high school. And again, if you think of naturally occurring resources, here's Broadview contiguous to Danbury Hospital. So it's a wonderful opportunity for kids. There are other parents who say, not interested, I want my child to go to Broadview and just have a traditional comprehensive educational experience. And the other thing we've talked about is the performing arts opportunity. And so there are two other things. One is performing arts, and this is clearly, we're bringing it to the board in the early stages so that you can hear and start to process and process and process. We probably want to survey the community again. So one option is to have within the school district, intra-district academies, so you can go from Rogers Park to Broadview or vice versa. The other option, thought for the board to think about, parents, is maybe we don't want to have cross-town busing. We just want to stay in our school and have one themed academy, and this one has a themed academy. And they're both around the same idea in this case. They're both in the science area. If we were to go that route, another thought, and we wouldn't do it simultaneously, would be to have a performing arts academy in both schools. They both have wonderful auditoriums and new sound systems and great lighting, and they put on wonderful musicals if you've gone. And so there's an interest of saying, I don't want to have my child go from Rogers Park to Broadview. I want my child to stay at Rogers Park in a performing arts academy as a theme. And the same thing holds for Broadview. So that's the performing arts academy you've heard about. The last piece is something we're moving forward. It's naturally occurring. It just makes good instructional and academic sense. I really want to kind of shine a spotlight on Sal, because I think more than anything else it's been his idea to drive this, and that's the transition from grade 5 to grade 6. Just as we had the transition from grade 8 to grade 9. So we have the freshman academy. There are models out there of a 6th grade academy. It's not revolutionary, it doesn't change everything, because we already have kids working in clusters. When Phyllis was over at Broadview, clusters are already in place. But what is new is having things like block scheduling, and that starts to build that academy concept. Things like advisories, where a caring adult takes a hold of 10 or 15 kids and has an opportunity to process things with those kids, just as we do at the high school. And so if you look at the Carnegie report, Turning Points, there are a number of reports that came out of the Carnegie Foundation that talk about a smooth transition from elementary to middle school, and this would allow them to have a soft landing at the middle school. After 6th grade, there's no need for it because kids become middle schoolized, and this is my home and I'm just fine, but now I may be interested in looking at a theme leading me, and it's very possible they could lead up to the Health and Bioscience Academy at Danbury High School. So we're trying to have more choices, as Sal said, and more naturally occurring opportunities. When we did the redistricting, remember natural boundaries like a lake or a highway or something, same thing goes for this. Last point is that we are going as fast as appropriate, not as fast as possible. We don't want to rush it, we want to do it right, we want to make sure that we hear from all board members, that you've had a chance to really process this, the community's had a chance to process it, community engagement committee just met. We had an opportunity for folks to come forward at community forums, through surveys, etc. And then we launch it in phases. So we look at, possibly as early as next fall, a themed academy at Rogers Park, a themed academy at Broadview. Maybe the following year, we do another themed academy. It seems to be the right thing to do. And right now, we're already starting to move into a 6th grade academy because it just makes common sense for doing all the stuff that lead to that.
Dr. Glass, when you say theme academy, in terms of the curriculum in the Rogers Park and Broadview, how do you design curriculum, or maybe that's not the right word, or what kind of a curriculum would be designed for, let's say, the arts, in addition, for a student attending either one of the two middle schools? Do they just take subjects relative to the arts, or in terms of the health and welfare? Or is it generically that everything you do is associated with with that?
It's a great question. It's the number one question that people ask. And if you look at the Academy for International Studies, the elementary magnet school, the first of these academies, people always thought there was a separate curriculum. There's not. The Danbury Public Schools curriculum is the curriculum. Common Core, state standards, all that. It's just that if we're at Rogers Park and we're studying the science curriculum and we have kids working on the idea of creating a hypothesis and testing it, it aligns with your coherence plan on problem solving. We may use the environmental studies strand of content to really push that idea of creating a hypothesis. What do you think will happen if algae builds up too quickly in the Rogers Park pond? If we go to Danbury Hospital, at the Health and Wellness Academy over at Broadview, if we end up doing that, still in science, creating a hypothesis, problem solving, what is the best mechanism to promote wellness and against the anti-obesity campaign that's going on in the country right now for middle school kids? And so they create, and the hospital has a walking path, for example. They have an incentive program. If you park in the, I'm gonna mess this up, you park in the blue lot, which is farther than the goal lot, and walk, you earn certain points. So it's a naturally occurring resource, but the curriculum is the same. It's just what we use as the problem-solving vehicle.
Anybody else? Oh, I'm so sorry. Who's left? You. And Rose.
I love this
I'm sorry.
idea, and what an amazing thing to have in our community. I guess coming to my brain right now immediately as a parent is, what if I'm in the Broadview district and my child really has an interest and a love and a passion for environmental studies? Or what if I'm in the Rogers Park district and my child really has a love for bioscience or whatever? I would think that, I would hope that we would look into possibly having some way so that children, if you're really going to provide a choice for parents, that choice for children as well, and allow them that opportunity to either have their traditional middle school experience or one of the others. And I know there's other issues with that, because if you open it up as a lottery, that you have this academy at Rogers Park and a different one at Broadview, then now you're cross-busing again. But I could also see the headaches that it would happen if you told only Broadview kids that this was your possible other choice, and only Rogers Park kids that this is possibly your other choice. Having the performing arts in both of them, that makes sense. And then both communities both feel that they're getting the same from this district. But I don't know I wouldn't know how you could do this logistically, but I think it's something we really need to think about, because you're going to have community members and parents asking these same questions and maybe wanting something different.
The best way to reply to that is that you've heard all members of the cabinet say repeatedly, we are being completely transparent and that there are no secrets. And the best example I can use of that, and it was controversial, when the board chose to make enrollment at STEM Academy open. No prerequisite, you don't have to score a certain level on the CMT and math, you don't have to have a propensity in science, open. And so we will bring all options to the board. We're in program development right now, and put it on. And my hunch is, it's more than a hunch, I'd be amazed if it didn't happen. There'd be questions at the board level with Joe. So what's the impact on transportation? What's the impact on cost on this? Impact questions to Kim. So what do we do with HR, personnel functions? Then what do we do with SPED kids? Me, what do we do with program development? Sal, overarching leadership. So we will put all that on the table and then allow you, that's why I said move as fast as appropriate. And let us process this, probably have a good amount of community input, maybe a forum or two, and then have folks invited here, televise it, put it on our website. And when the dust settles, we will make a very informed decision as a school system. And we will guarantee not please everyone, because there are still parents that call me this year alone saying, my child scored at the advanced level on the CMT and math, did not get into the STEM program because of the lottery. But at least there's a viable rationale underneath that we can defend as a school district. So we promise you we'll do all of that stuff, as we always do.
Are there any other questions for anyone? Seeing none, we'll move forward.
Your choice.
Okay. Yeah, there you
That
go.
was more choice. Ba-da-boom. I put the goals in here on one page. That was a task, but I wanted to get on one page for you. You can see that the budget thing is going to be a big thing for us. We have to try to, don't look at me with those puppy eyes, will you? He's worried. So we got to put that budget together to create a transitional strategy to migrate from the ECS Alliance money to the operation. That's a big task. And when I said to the board a few years ago, the biggest task we have in hard financial times is to try to go forward as a district. Well, I can tell you, even though we're a little more flush in terms of resources, and the economy's a little better, this is going to give us a challenge. So when we talk in terms of these opportunities, I think we need to continue talking about them. Otherwise, we'll never move forward. But we're going to have to come around how, as the question the board has asked, where are we going to be if this money stops? I will tell you the money will not stop. I'll bet Joe's paycheck on it.
Definitely take that back.
But the question is, right now, it's categorically coming to the board. That money comes right to you based on the application that you submit. It's ECS money. With all the things that are going on, the money will not be taken away, but it will come to the city, but it'll come in a different format, very possible. That's why I say I don't see it going away. What we're arguing and talking about is making sure that the sustainability of the programs the cities are putting in can continue by having those resources. So we have to figure out a way, if in fact it does go away, and that still is a possibility, depending on what goes on the political climate, we have to figure out what are we going to jettison, and how are we going to operationalize the budget, and present something that's fiscally responsible to the town. Because I think, you could ask for whatever, but we know that, I think we need to be mindful of that. So that's the 2-year cycle that you see on here that Joe is going to be putting together and working with that committee. The rest of it, parent information, we talked about that at the meeting today. That's been an engagement, and ongoing. And then the first one on the coherence plan. So I think, all in all, we got quite a bit to do there.
So you're going to,
Chair.
yes,
Yeah, Richard and Rich Fuller. Go, Richard.
Just we had talked about before, Sal, about a three-year budget, right? You want to go out, we're going to do just 2, or you want to go out 3?
I'm building 3, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
you can-
three
All right,
years.
that's fine.
Okay, Richard Fuller.
Which one of the local state legislators are on the education committee? And when do we start putting pressure on them?
We have, we have a meeting scheduled for November, right after the election, with our legislators. And then they'll have assignment of committees. We established that last September. We got that going. So that's got to happen.
You're no new commissioner as of yet.
No. My guess is if the current sitting commissioner gets a new job and leaves, there'll be an interim until after the election. And then the governor plays a big role in recommending to the state board, and then to the legislature who the next commissioner is going to be. So that's what we have going.
So we gotta wait till November.
That was the recommendation at our meeting, because it was exactly that. Once you would meet again, we thought, let's wait till after the election, we'll know which committees we're going to be on, and then we'll start talking about the agenda to work with. And this is a biannual budget, which means it's 2 years.
Thank you both of you. Anybody else have any more questions as to that? All right. The rest of it we've all read, the Denver Education Foundation grants, and the new hires
these coaches. It's rather impressive. And thank you for Mr. Adams. It looks like he can hold his own with James.
That is the band director.
That's, I know that. Thank you, I read that. So I tried to read it ahead of time. Okay, so.
That was from my memory.
Oh, I'm not speaking into the microphone, I'm sorry, you're supposed to be yelling at me, I'm so sorry.
I did it.
If everybody in this room can't hear my voice, we're in a bit of trouble. Okay. VHS DECA recipient of career and technical student, Sal.
Oh, if you look at F, there's just information, students that received awards.
Right.
I placed Sean was named the head softball coach, that was information.
Yeah, we did
So I
that,
can ask him,
yeah.
I did that. And Dr. Rosvalley to the advisory council, was just informational.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Anybody have any questions? Gladys does.
Dr. Sal, just before the end of the school year, last year, I sort of discussed a concern with the Endeavor program as far as an additional time or another art person to help them out. Were we able to do anything to assist Jackie? As far as an art person, she said even if she got a couple more hours, she really needed someone to help with this, with the art department.
I'd have to check. I don't know. I don't know.
And I think there was a discussion, well, the funding, we had fundings to do something to support her. As far as, even with the art person that she had, to stay there extra hour or 2 hours. She really needed some extra time with the art person, with the students.
I don't know.
So will you?
Is it-
Endeavor?
Yeah, they have a full-time, they have a 1.0 there because we had 2 people and we have now got 1 person doing the whole full-time assignment.
But I think at that particular time, this is back in June, she said she really needed some more time for, she needed additional time for art person to help with the students. That time wasn't sufficient enough for her. So, and my question was, is there any way that we could give her an extra time for art person?
All right. Kim, if I may ask you, I'm going to direct you, so it's in the minutes, I'm speaking into the microphone. If I would ask you, please, if you would check with Mrs. Donardo and see if she still needs that, if indeed, or if you filled her requirement. All right? All right, thank you. All righty. The board chairperson is too busy talking to the microphone to have a report. So my report is, I've spoken to all of you, just about all of you individually, about students. So that's it. And is anybody else? Richard, you have a meeting tonight. Would you like to do a summary of it?
Basically, the Community Relations Committee met essentially to discuss certain subject matters or topics that sort of align with Dr. Sal and the district's goals. Generally speaking, in terms of a buzzword would be community engagement. Sort of suggested certain committee members take on certain topics and sort of research it and find out the best way to approach handling these particular specific subjects. One would be the general subject, is community engagement. The other would be Common Core standards, and the other would be to a day, so I'm going to call it up on a hill, a day in Hartford, is to rally the people, the citizens of Danbury to go up and make a case in Hartford supporting Danbury.
But we also have the commitment of our state representatives to go up. We spoke to them here. Isn't that correct, Sal?
I'm sorry, I was trying to find out something.
Texting, yes, I'm sorry. It's good, and Bill said, fine, whatever we asked him. And if you could just, when we had Mr. Desi here and who else was here? Arcanti, Desi, it's all the same in Danbury. It's one family, I swear. So they're going to go and up and talk for us, advocate for us, rather, not speak for us, but advocate for us. We were going to get together with them before before that time? When was that time that they were supposed to
I
go?
reached out, I reached out to Alconte in an email a couple of weeks ago on that subject and trying to coordinate it with tonight's committee meeting. And I haven't heard back. Ralph is going to reach out to Ms. Geigler. And basically Ralph's going to reach out to the representatives to coordinate that trip and meeting in Hartford with us.
Okay.
And the only thing I recall was was the meeting after the election that we were gonna sit down with the reps. I don't remember the day on the Hill thing.
Yeah, we had said after somewhere in November, we were
Yeah.
going to do that.
Okay, so someone's actively acting on that, right? We're not talking about, okay. Yes, Bob?
Yeah, just wondering whether any of the reps are now on the education committees, because they have to make their preference known to the head of the, the House to get on the committee. So I don't believe Mr. Carter, okay, and Mr. Arconte were on the education. Those are the two we heard from. But if none of them are on, I think we have to implore them ahead of time that would really be of service to us if they would ask to be put on the education committee. We should have at least one.
I can,
from a
if
city
the board
beside.
wishes, I can send an email to them, asking them and asking them to think about
Yes,
that.
but
I could do that.
before you do that, Mr. Ferguson's going to speak, since he's personal friends with Jen Giegler. I imagine he has some.
Well, she's not on education.
No, I don't think it is.
Don't hold me to it. I don't think any of the 6 state reps are on education, and I know Senator McLaughlin is not on education. There may be one on higher ed, but that wouldn't affect us. So that should be a little concern for us, because a city of our size with 7 legislators, if you include our senator, should not have any representation on the education committee. That's not to say they can't promote things, but
Seeing that Michael, Richard, seeing that Michael is so well versed on who is and who isn't, could you work with him and maybe help him? He could help you contact everybody?
Well, I mean,
Yes.
Ralph would.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier, and I was gonna ask my guy, to see Jan on Thursday. I was gonna bounce it off of her, going back to the community relations meeting that we had. I was gonna get some information on kind of what direction to go in by talking to her. She's been a rep forever now, so.
Yes, for as long as I.
But yeah, that is a little concerning that we don't have any on the.
That is, wow.
Yeah, well, yeah, Michael will give me a little hand on that too, hopefully.
everyone has their certain interests, certain specialties, and for none of them is.
Right, it's education,
Wow.
great, super.
Richard just pulled up the committee and there's about 30 members, 32. Yeah. There's no one direct from here.
Yeah.
Andy Fleischman is the co-chair with Andrew Stillman.
So let's find out how we're gonna get.
So I just want to, do you want me to send a note or just let you guys take care of it?
No, we want you to.
You want me to send a note? Okay, I'll do it.
Because we know you'd like to do everything, Sal.
Yeah, I'll send it to them.
We know you'd like to do everything, so that's good. Please, thank you. All right, so Richard, thank you very much. Richard Hall, you want to, since Richard Janelli just spoke, would you like to talk about finance? Where are you guys?
None.
Nothing? Soon, next month?
None.
Okay.
Nope. Joe's gonna get a 3-year plan together. We'll talk in December.
December. Yeah, okay. Superintendent evaluation?
I want to ask, no.
Go ahead.
No, because I want to ask a question. I forgot, I lost it just.
Listen, it's every day for me. Are you kidding me? Every moment of my day.
Okay,
It's all right,
well, that's, I'll come back to
I
you.
do that.
Okay, Mrs. Molinaro, you want to talk to me about policy, anything new?
Nothing new, but I would like, I know there's no chair for operations, sites and facilities, but I think we really need a meeting post-haste.
I thought I saw one on Mr. Joe's calendar, no?
No, but we definitely need to update the board on all projects.
Okay, so when would you like to meet?
We can talk at the end of the meeting tomorrow.
Okay, fine, that's good.
Thank you.
Alrighty, anybody else? Yes, Mr. Ferguson?
Just would like to say that Ralph and I visited Broadview Middle School yesterday. Some of you may know that we're trying to do a little tour of all the schools. It's our goal to hit every single school sometime this school year. Just to tour the school, meet with the principals, really just watch the students in action. It's just, that's why we're here. And I don't know if he'd like to add anything, but we had a great visit yesterday. Mr. Robs was great, met with us, took us all around the whole school, got to see students in the classrooms during passing time, and it was just a great visit, and we look forward to doing others down the road. But if you want to add anything.
I agree. I mean, I didn't see the garden at Broadview or Bob, but it was very nice. Mr. Robs did a great job, and he really took us through every nook and cranny. He set us down a swing rock schedule, and at least he acted happy to see us there, and was very excited about what they're doing there. And he's, we noticed one thing. Michael and I talked after, and they said the kids look so happy there. Like it's like you didn't see one kid not smiling or walking around. And I think that's what it's all about. I mean, it's just great to see him, in action and throughout the day and stuff like that. So we do have we have about 8 or 9 schools planned already. So we're going to continue to do that. But that's it.
That's excellent. And Rose?
Just a comment to the two of you. Thank you for representing us, because as a teacher in another district, I very much appreciate when board members come to our building and come to my classroom. And to have that visual and that contact, I think, is extremely important. Unfortunately, I can't join you, and I wish I could. And I really appreciate that you are doing that. Thank you very much.
Well, it's how you actually learn how to function. I mean, a lot of us have done that, and it's how you learn how it functions. Because it's one thing to sit in a room and talk about it, and have people come and tell you what's going on. When you actually stand in there and watch it, you see how it really works.
Thank you for taking the time.
Okay, and I appreciate it also because I've done it, and I know it's not easy to do it either. I mean, it's fun, but it's not easy. Alrighty. Okay, I have, oh no, I don't. I need TDEC. Mr. Ferguson, would you like to address TDEC?
I wasn't able to make the last TDEC.
Okay, sorry.
So perhaps.
Sir?
Dr. Glass pretty much told, when he was talking about the choices that were brought up about the middle schools, pretty much that was the body of the TDEC meeting.
Good.
Okay, so pretty much there's nothing to report because Dr. Glass said, which is good. So I heard it twice, so maybe it'll stick with me.
Can I
Phyllis,
just comment?
no, not yet. Oh, yeah, Phyllis.
I went to see that because Michael asked me to.
Oh, excellent.
Because
I'm sorry, I didn't know
was,
that.
Alternate.
Do you have anything to add to Bob?
No, it's just that I don't think it was the kind of meeting that we were, there were other meetings going on at the same time, so not all of the committee was there.
It was a fragmented meeting.
Oh, okay. All right, but that was the gist. Does anybody have any questions of anybody? No? Glass, did you remember what you need to say?
I didn't remember one question, but it's just a thought, and I take it back. I want to ask a question concerning the article that was in the News Times one day last week, and it concerning the mentors. I think it's over at Marsh Street School, and the Association of Religious Communities through the Unitarian University Church are getting these mentors to come into the school to do reading and writing to help the students. And I guess my question would be, do they fully select the person that's coming into the school, or can anyone, do you have to belong to the university, Unitarian University Church Board to become a mentor?
I mean, Dr. Glass maybe will answer that. He was working with Bill.
There is no formal relationship with the church, and ARC is not approaching this from a religious perspective.
Thank you.
Excuse me. One of their missions is to promote, to work against domestic violence and improve the lives of kids in the community. The church one of the church members years ago said, let's do something to help the schools. And so it was a naturally evolving thing. I went to a luncheon last week. We're very careful to make sure that there's separation of church and state. There's no relationship with the church. As it turns out, there were probably 50, 60 people there. I think only a handful even were members of that church. Many were retired Danbury teachers that you all know. Barbara Fortunato, our Teacher of the Year, Maureen McGarrigle, Teacher of the Year, Fred McDuray, just legends in Danbury. None of whom are members of the church. However, Kim and I have had brief conversations. We do have to be very careful with that. We make sure that there's an understanding that this is not in any way associated with a religious organization, activity, anything like that. No proselytizing. It's not as simply. Most of the folks are retired individuals who either have a background in school or like the idea of helping kids and want to come and mentor. So we talked about an idea of, and it's premature because I haven't talked to anybody else about it. We're just brainstorming at Kim's office the other day about having it go through one of our current organizations as a way of an intake process. But nobody comes into our school without being fingerprinted. They're only vetted, FBI background check, wearing the badges, all that kind of stuff.
And I'm not doubting the program. I'm 100% for anything to happen in our school system that's going to help advance our students. Just the way the article was printed sort of bothered me. And then the grant goes specifically to the Association of Religious Community. Am I correct about that? Or it comes through the United Way to the Association of Religious Community?
The United Way is supporting the idea of mentoring the schools as part of one of their primary areas of focus. They've been behind this for 10, 15 years, I guess. And so I'm not sure how the funding stream works. I believe it's being given to ARC to help promote the issue of volunteerism.
Right, okay.
It's not being given to the church. And that's why there's that separation piece.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. Do we have, I know about DSABC as mentors through the business program, but do we have another formal way? Do people know where to go and what to do to become a mentor?
Well, it's ironic because that was part of the conversation. In the old days, there were room mothers and people like that who would come in and just volunteer. The closest thing I can use as an example of what this program is about is a room mother. I come in and I help, whether it's tying kids' shoelaces, whether it's helping a youngster to read better and have somebody to read to.
Right.
It's a very casual, informal program, and there's no, as far as I know, there's nothing in the district that has any kind of volunteer center. It's DSABC really is the intake mechanism for processing people who want to come in and mentor.
All mentors.
Their program is very formalized with the business community.
Right.
And kind of the genie's out of the bottle. We were talking about possibly having DSABC be the pass-through. So we have every mentor coming to the district to the same.
Right, because I know some people that said to me, well, how do I become a mentor? And I said, I don't really know. I mean, I would just go to the school. So I think that we need something.
We agree.
And I think that the Public Relations Committee needs to get out, or we need to do something to say, if you want to help, this is what you can do.
Many years ago, long time ago, I mentored in the school system for 12 years. And then the formal process, if you want to mentor, was under DSABC. You did your application, and then they met with you, and then they put you in line with the child.
Right, so I know that system because I help facilitate that for kids. But I also know the room mothers, kind of thing. Like I have volunteered in my own daughter's classroom just because, and there are other people I know who, there were some ladies from my church that would go to Haystown to read to children, to read to kindergartners and first. But I didn't know how they got to do it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. How does that happen?
I think the best way to answer it, Phyllis, is it's a different day and age now. and with our security protocols, and
Right.
we really upped the bar in terms of intake, that this is probably another evolutionary level of our work. And because we were expecting, from what I was told, 6 people would show up, and approximately 60 people showed up. And then other people have been saying what you've been saying, you know, how do I get involved in this, because I really want to help out. And a lot of these people are retired educators. And there's no mechanism right now that we have for that. So one of the things we really need to do is sit, and we told everybody that the earliest we could probably consider having anybody come into the schools, because it would be processed by the cabinet, it would go through this entire process, maybe a presentation to the board, would be November. And so it started out as a very small, very innocent kind of thing. Would you like to come in and help? Yes, I would, thank you. It's now starting to really catch on. We've had many principals say, I'd like to be part of this. So I think what we have to do is probably put a little team together. And we have to be clearly at peace with Kim and personnel to process anything.
Well, I was going to say, this would be part of our community relations.
Certainly will.
For us to help get that to
We'll
facilitate.
present the conversation at the committee meeting, and I think this would be a nice way to get the word out in a very positive thing, if ever again, there's capital.
Right, because, I mean, there are people with experience sitting around this board, you know.
Yeah.
All right, moving, yes,
Just an addendum to that, that community relations, but maybe Dr. Sal at the principals meeting could just get the input from the principals on what they feel is the need and all sort of to get, you know, enough data and so forth, that would give us some reason to
Because
see
Dr.
which
Sal has
schools,
nothing
which
else to do.
schools are receptive and, you know, and so forth. Yeah, just,
Well, I think there's another conversation that has to happen. The answer to that, of course, but there's some other considerations board ought to be cognizant, that's all.
right,
Yes.
all right.
There's another conversation that has to happen.
because, you know, it seems to me some might be more receptive than others. Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
All right.
So Richie's on top of it, Dr. Sal's on top of it, we're all on top of it. There you go. Moving forward, Dr.
I just
Sal.
want to remind the board that the TDEC is your advisor, so let's just take the example that we used about those the schools. And it will go through that group, and they will discuss it and come up with some ideas and recommendation to you. That's in our board policy and code. So in terms of, that's why it's important that when we do have things that are moving forward, like the academies and that you realize that the TDEC committee meetings are really important, particularly with board members, because you're going to hear everything there and then assist us here in explaining it to everybody, and there's feedback we have to have. I just want to remind you that that's what it's about. There wasn't enough there last week.
I was very disappointed.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just going to tell you
Yeah.
that because really, you know, this is one of the things I've been trying to, you know, you try to start a task and complete.
Sure.
Okay, and Eileen knows right from the beginning.
Mhm.
And
Of time.
I've seen over 20 members there, 22. I know there was a conflict and all. But I just personally would like to see that as much of the full committee be there every time I show up. I'm just gonna, okay, I'm just gonna say that. That's,
All right, point taken.
I don't know how Phyllis felt.
We agree.
Okay.
Point taken, I think we all.
But that's important because they are advisory to the board.
Alrighty, I think we've exhausted our committees, and we're exhausted, and we're moving right along. Is there an executive session tonight? Or is there not?
Yes,
Please,
there is.
God.
Yes. There's a motion
Just
here.
because it's written there doesn't mean it always has to be there. I mean, that's like.
Well, in this case, what is written is what you need to do.
Yeah,
So it is written, so it is true.
I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen,